Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. Now let's get started. Another letter. It's still that familiar cruel supporting male character from M-City. The original owner of this body once used underhanded methods to force the female lead to marry him. Later, when the female lead found true love and wanted to divorce him, the original owner naturally refused, going mad and causing trouble until he was finally defeated by the combined efforts of the male and female leads, leaving his family in ruins. I transmigrated over and saw the divorce agreement. Just sign it and I could receive all of the female lead's assets. I quickly signed the divorce agreement and received all of the female CEO's assets. Pretending to be heartbroken, I said I support you in finding true love. The pain of living in this big mansion and driving luxury cars, let me bear it alone. I transmigrated into the cruel supporting male character in the famous novel ABC. Waking up, I found myself attending a dinner party under the sparkling lights. I was stunned for a moment before regaining my composure. I sorted out the original plot. The original owner, named Victor, was childhood friends with the female lead, Sophia. 2 years ago, he used shady methods to force her to marry him. Since then, Sophia has hated him to the bone, often traveling for work and rarely coming home. Later, she met her true love and was willing to leave with nothing, even living in a slum and eating instant noodles just to divorce me. But I refused, doing everything to hurt the one she loved, committing all sorts of evil deeds until I died tragically on the streets. The original owner was so stupid. Before the divorce, his wife didn't come home, and he lived in a big mansion, drove luxury cars, and received $1,000,000 in living expenses every month. After the divorce, he got billions of his wife's assets. It was like stepping into the clouds right then and there. Oh my God, where else could I find such a good deal? Thank you, ancestors. I'll burn some joss paper for you later. I turned my head and saw Sophia, surrounded by a group of people, noble and beautiful. Even her casual gestures exuded an elegant aura. I really liked the dinner party. After the party ended, I left with Sophia in the quiet car. I happily counted the balance in my bank card. The living expenses had only started half a year ago, meaning I currently had 6,000,000 yuan in my account. Although the original owner came from a wealthy family, he was a good-for-nothing. His 2 older brothers in the family were freeloaders and playboys, so the assets he inherited were pitifully small. Sophia was the truly rich one. I bit my tie, afraid I'd laugh out loud. Suddenly, I heard a loud thud. I stuck my head out and saw a figure lying on the ground. I remembered this was when the female lead would meet the male lead, Ethan. Love at first sight would strike her, and she'd fall hopelessly in love. In giving up her family inheritance for him, becoming penniless. Honestly, I've seen women blindly in love before, but never someone as blindly in love as Sophia. Even Bella would have to call her CEO. The driver hurriedly got out of the car. I turned to see Sophia still resting with her eyes closed. She didn't get out to check. Sophia opened her eyes, her gaze. My little heart trembled. This strong aura wasn't something an ordinary person could handle. Before I could speak, the driver ran over and said someone was seriously injured. Sophia instructed the driver to call emergency services. Unlike the original plot, I would accompany her to the hospital. Noticing Sophia's fondness for Ethan, I remembered that in the story, the original owner would start causing trouble, scheming to kill Ethan. Luckily, I transmigrated early, and everything was still manageable. I kindly said, "You stay and handle this, I'll take a taxi back." Without waiting for her response, I opened the car door and left. Sophia rarely came home, even when she wasn't traveling for work. After all, she owned dozens of properties. The next day, I slept until noon, ate 2 bowls of bird's nest soup, sipped some wine, and then had a lavish lunch. In the afternoon, I went shopping, swiping my card without a care. It hurt my heart, but thankfully, this month's living expenses would be deposited soon. Although my current life wasn't bad, I still had to be mindful of Sophia's mood. I needed to check on the progress of her relationship with Ethan. Were there any sparks? If not, I'd have to give them a push to speed up the divorce. At the hospital, I stood outside the ward and saw Sophia feeding Ethan porridge. I knew this scene happened because Ethan refused to eat, and Sophia forced him. Victor, after the divorce, became a billionaire. I wondered if my morals had decayed more than Sophia's. She let go of the man sitting on the hospital bed. Do you want to eat on your own? Or should I keep feeding you? Ethan choked, his face red, stubbornly turning away. His demeanor made my heart ache for a few seconds. Soon Sophia grabbed his chin again. Their eyes met, filled with affection. Even the air was thick with the scent of dopamine. Satisfied, I gently closed the door to avoid disturbing them. That evening, I received a call from Sophia. Dad wants us to come home for dinner tonight. The house she mentioned was the old D family residence. When I arrived, Sophia hadn't returned yet. I sat in the living room, munching on melon seeds and eating fruit. Footsteps echoed from the stairs. I looked up and saw Sophia's mother. She wasn't Sophia's biological mother but the second wife of Old Master Jack. She walked over with a sly smile. Has anyone called you a freeloader to your face recently? Sophia's mother always looked down on me as a freeloader. Every time she saw me, she'd mock me a few times, but I didn't care for her. Being a freeloader was my skill. Ordinary men wouldn't even get the chance. I laughed heartily. It's fine. Being able to freeload is my blessing. Sophia's mother didn't expect such a response. Her smile stiffened. Before I transmigrated, just a little provocation from her would make the original owner fly into a rage, constantly defending himself. I shrugged. She clearly didn't understand me. Now I didn't seek any genuine affection, only wealth and luxury. Not long after, Sophia and Old Master Jack returned home, and the kitchen started serving dinner. I looked at the dishes on the table. Lobster flown in from Australia, white truffle mushrooms, Italian Alba white truffle caviar salad, and more. All were high-end delicacies I'd never tasted before. I had to say the rich really knew how to enjoy life. This time I wanted to eat everything I hadn't tried before. I started devouring the food, even licking the plates clean. Sophia frowned at my ravenous eating, clearly disgusted. I glanced at her, disgusted. That's right, don't fall in love with me 1,000 times over. After Old Master Jack and Mrs. Lily finished eating, they went for a walk. I looked at Sophia's delicate but cold face. By the way, when will this month's living expenses be deposited? Sophia looked at me strangely. The original Victor despised money, going mad for love. Mentioning money was an insult to his love. The original owner was foolish, but I wasn't. I loved money and money loved me. Money poured in from all directions. Sophia coldly said, "Do you think I'm your petty cash manager? Go ask my secretary." I let out an "oh" and then bowed my head, sending a WeChat message to Sophia's secretary. In just a few minutes, my phone notified me that 1,000,000 yuan had been transferred to my account. I smiled contentedly. After dinner, the family sat in the living room. Old Master Jack hinted that he wanted Sophia and me to have a child soon. Sophia didn't respond, but I cooperatively nodded, showcasing my superb acting skills. I smiled and said, "Sophia and I will try our best." Sophia seemed disgusted by me again, glaring at me. Old Master Jack asked us to stay the night. He knew Sophia rarely came home, so he deliberately created an opportunity for us to share a room. Share a room? Create a baby? Forget it, I didn't want to create karma. When only the two of us were left in the living room, Sophia coldly said, "Victor, I can't have a child with you. Don't dream about it." I immediately raised four fingers and swore, "Don't worry, I absolutely have no intentions toward you." She of course didn't believe me. She stood up and went upstairs. More than half an hour later, I finished showering and saw Sophia making a video call. "Sophia, your dad came to me last night and offered me 80,000,000 yuan to leave you." Ethan closed his eyes, his voice low and pained. "Your dad is too insulting." Sophia was furious. Dad went too far this time. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. I wiped the drool from my mouth. 80 million? I'm envious. Can you insult me a bit so I can get the money? I'd be willing. Then I comforted myself. It's fine, after the divorce, all of the female lead's assets would be mine. I didn't even dare to imagine how happy I'd be on the day of the divorce. Early the next morning, Old Master Jack called me to exercise. I was lazy to get up early, but I had slept on the sofa all night and my back was sore. After finishing a set of radio exercises, Old Master Jack got to the main topic. He said Sophia had been getting very close to a man recently and asked me to pay attention. He had thrown money at the problem but couldn't make Ethan leave Sophia. He didn't want to use harsh methods to avoid damaging his father-daughter relationship with Sophia. So he hinted that I should find a way to separate them. Oh my God, what am I supposed to do to separate them? This novel is a reverse harem, but the one being reversed is me. The male and female leads will eventually have a happy ending. On the surface, I solemnly nodded in agreement, but in my heart, I wished I could wear a green hat right then and there. Green is such a vibrant color. Sophia didn't come home for dinner. Old Master Jack deliberately called and asked me to bring chicken soup to the company for Sophia. I had no choice but to comply, so I carried a thermal box to the company. Pushing the door open, I saw Ethan standing in front of the desk, frowning and rubbing the back of his hand. I remembered a plot in the book where I splashed hot water on him. Thinking of this, I had a bad premonition and was about to leave when I saw Sophia quickly walking over and pushing me aside. Sophia looked at Ethan's burned hand and asked worriedly, "What happened to your hand?" "I burn," Ethan replied. Sophia turned to look at me, her eyes filled with hatred as if she wanted to swallow me whole. "Victor, if you dare lay a hand on him again, I won't let you off." I was truly wronged. Jumping into the Yellow River wouldn't clear my name. It wasn't me. Before I could finish, Sophia rushed up to me and slapped me in the office. "It's just you and him. If it's not you, then who?" I was furious, but thinking of all her assets, I immediately calmed down. Endure hardship to become rich. Sophia fiercely warned me. "If anything happens to Ethan's hand, I'll make you pay double." I was speechless. What could possibly happen? He just hurt himself. Can't a grown man stop being so weak? Shut up. After saying this, Sophia was about to slap me again. I instinctively stepped back to avoid it. At the same time, her wrist was grabbed by someone else. I turned my head and saw a beautiful face, the female supporting character of this novel. Also Sophia's half-sister, Elena. If Sophia was the outstanding, intelligent, and capable heir, then Elena was her opposite, a spoiled young lady who only knew how to have fun. She and Sophia had never gotten along. Their eyes met like bullets about to fire. At this moment, Ethan stepped forward and pulled Sophia's hand. "Sophia, it was my carelessness. The burn has nothing to do with Mr. Tran." My eyes nearly rolled to the back of my head. So this is what the male lead is like, lying through his teeth. I excitedly said, "Where's the divorce agreement, Sophia?" I was stunned. Her delicate face showed a hint of doubt, but she didn't ask further. "I'll have someone prepare the divorce agreement now." Before she could finish, a panicked voice interrupted. "It's bad. Chairman's heart disease has flared up." I looked up and saw old Master Jack sitting on the ground, his face in pain. Sophia's expression changed and she turned to run out. The smile on my face instantly disappeared without a trace. This mood was like riding a roller coaster, up and down unpredictably. Old Master Jack's heart disease must have been triggered by hearing that Sophia wanted to divorce me. After taking his medicine, he sat on the sofa, his anger rising as he began to scold Sophia. "Do you even know what you're doing? For a man who came out of nowhere, you want a divorce." Sophia's expression was tense. "Dad, you don't understand. He's my first love, the one I've longed for in the depths of this loveless marriage." Old Master Jack angrily slammed a cup on the table. "First love." I was so scared that I quickly moved to avoid getting hurt. Sophia said she had been groomed as the family heir since birth, with no freedom, only constraints. If she could choose, she just wanted to be an ordinary person, free to do as she pleased. I felt she was really speaking without thinking. Her reincarnation technique was something others envied but couldn't achieve. Being born into such a wealthy family with superior living conditions, she made it sound like she was suffering. Sophia looked at old Master Jack with determination. "Dad, I've thought it through. I'd rather leave with nothing than stay in this marriage." I immediately felt that the phrase "leaving with nothing" sounded very pleasing to the ear. Old Master Jack was so angry that he pointed at Sophia and shouted, "Get out of here right now." Sophia pursed her lips, her eyes red, and turned to leave. I stepped forward to old Master Jack's side. "Dad, don't be angry. Don't let it affect your health." Old Master Jack handed me a black card. Sophia interrupted him, stood up, and looked at me. "Victor, let's go handle the divorce procedures now." As soon as she finished speaking, I opened the car door and urged, Let's go quickly. Sophia widened her eyes in shock. We went to the registration office together. The staff looked at me with pity. What kind of man brings his wife's new lover to handle divorce papers? With my vision, I should have taken revenge. As Sophia had said earlier, she had given me all her assets, leaving with nothing but 200 yuan in her pocket. I couldn't bear it and stuffed another 10 yuan into her pocket, pretending to be heartbroken. I support you in finding true love. The pain of living in this big mansion and driving luxury cars, let me bear it alone. After saying this, I didn't care about her reaction and strode forward. I got in the car and looked at the divorce certificate in my hand, so excited that tears welled up. This road hadn't been easy. I took a photo and posted it on my social media. It's right, but it's not much after all. Sophia's personal assets are just a drop in the ocean compared to the vast D family fortune. I changed the subject. Miss Liu, are you here for a vacation too? Elena smiled. Brother-in-law, you used to call me Elena. I racked my brain trying to recall the plot, but couldn't remember any relationship between me and Elena. Did I miss a part of the story? It was possible. This was my first time transmigrating into a novel, and I had no experience. I wasn't very clear on the rules. It's just that her taste was a bit special because old Master Jack felt humiliated. He had blocked the news of my divorce from Sophia, so now the whole city was gossiping that I was a useless man, a disgrace to the wealthy family. Little did they know I counted money until my hands were sore every day and didn't care about outsiders' comments. Could it be that she followed me here? Elena lazily smiled. This island is mine. My eyes widened in shock. This island had restaurants, hotels, and all kinds of entertainment facilities. The annual profits must be enormous. It seemed Elena wasn't as useless as described in the book. She had a good business sense. I chuckled. Then treat me to a meal. Just thinking about the island being hers, I could eat for free in all directions, and I immediately felt that meeting her wasn't so bad. Elena cheerfully led me to a restaurant. Sitting down, I opened the menu. It was all in English. I recognized every letter, but combined they felt very unfamiliar. I looked up at Elena sitting across from me. She was ordering gracefully. The original owner, though not a good person, was proficient in multiple languages. I was afraid of exposing myself, so I could only grit my teeth and order. After a while, the dishes Elena ordered were served, but the dish I ordered hadn't arrived yet. Seeing her cut a piece of steak and put it in her mouth, I was so hungry I could go crazy. I frowned. The efficiency of this restaurant isn't very high. I've been waiting for half a day. I waved to call the waiter over. Why hasn't the dish I ordered arrived yet? The waiter smiled. Sir, the 4 piano pieces you ordered have already been played. I was immediately embarrassed, wanting to find a hole to hide in. I looked at Elena and forced a smile. I was afraid you'd find the meal too boring, so I ordered some music to liven things up. Very nice, right? Elena didn't expose me. She told the waiter to bring another portion of everything she had ordered and pushed a bowl of mushroom cream soup in front of me, telling me to drink some first. The soup was delicious, and my fondness for her immediately increased. She was much more sensible than her sister. While eating, a beauty at the next table kept sending me hard eyes. I touched my short hair. My charm really had nowhere to hide. Elena also noticed me flirting with the beauty at the next table and kicked me under the table, signaling me to behave. After eating and drinking my fill, I returned to the hotel to sleep in the middle of the night. I suddenly heard the doorbell, thinking it was hotel staff. I went to open the door, only to see a figure rush into my arms. Elena, she said. There's thunder. I'm so scared. As soon as she finished speaking, a loud thunderclap sounded outside, perfectly timed. I secretly thought, with your enthusiasm, I'm scared too. Elena looked up at me and asked, Can I sleep with you? My expression was unnatural. That didn't seem appropriate. Elena was like a little fox. I couldn't guess her intentions. She could deceive my feelings but not my money. Elena let go of me and walked inside. You and my sister are already divorced. There's nothing wrong with it. As I closed the door, I casually asked, Do you like me? Elena's expression froze. She looked at me and said, You fool. Only realizing it now. She walked up to me, pinched my ear and said, Victor, listen clearly. That year when you fell from the fake mountain and fainted, It was me who took you to the hospital, not Sophia. As soon as she said this, I remembered a plot in the book explaining why Victor liked Sophia. It was because she had saved him when he was a teenager. Turns out it was Elena who saved him, so she had liked the original owner since she was a teenager. But for many years, the original owner's heart was set on Sophia. She could only hide her feelings, waiting until the original owner divorced before making her move. Elena and I stayed on the island for half a month, then flew abroad to play together, strolling the streets and enjoying delicious food. We were like travel companions. After spending this time together, our relationship progressed to boyfriend and girlfriend. Elena's personality was completely different from Sophia's. Though she seemed arrogant and capricious on the surface, she was actually very understanding. Being with her, I felt very relaxed. 3 months later, we returned to the country. Elena took me to the D family, wanting to make our relationship public. As soon as we entered, we saw Sophia sitting on the living room sofa. She was wearing a women's suit, still as exquisite and beautiful as ever, without a trace of awkwardness. Recalling the news I saw a few days ago, Sophia had independently established a new company. The female lead was indeed the female lead. No matter how difficult the conditions, she could always start over. Truly like a cockroach that couldn't be killed no matter how injured. I believe that in the near future, she would be able to build a commercial empire of her own. Old Master Jack, seeing Sophia determined to be with Ethan, reluctantly agreed. Sophia looked at our tightly clasped hands, her delicate face dark as coal. What's the meaning of this? I knew Sophia had always hated her stepmother. Elena was born to her stepmother, so her hatred for her stepmother extended to her stepsister. Naturally, Elena was also within her scope of hatred. The relationship between the two sisters was terrible. I indifferently said, "It's as you see." Sophia coldly said, "Don't think I don't know you're with Elena to get back." At me, I held Elena's hand, feeling her fingers stiffen. I immediately tightened my grip and looked at Sophia. "Your face is really thick. I worked hard to pursue my girlfriend, and now you're turning her into a tool for your revenge. Being with Elena is natural because I like her. It has nothing to do with you. Don't add drama to yourself. Moreover, we're already divorced. You have no right to interfere in my private matters." Sophia was stunned, a look of surprise flashing across her face. In her perception, I should have been kneeling on the ground miserably, begging her to come back, not treating her like this because of Elena. I secretly sighed. The original owner had treated her too well, making her unable to accept the current me. I didn't care about her anymore and held Elena's hand, heading to the kitchen to see what delicious food we'd have for dinner. Elena asked me, "Do you really not like her anymore?" When she asked this, I could clearly feel her tension. I rubbed her head and gently said, "The person I like now is only you. Don't mind what she says." Elena shyly smiled at me. Being with Elena, old Master Jack didn't object and was even very happy. Water far away doesn't flow to outside fields. After going around, you're still my son-in-law. I was also very impressed by his strange way of thinking. On the contrary, Mrs. Lily still looked down on me, feeling I was a freeloader to the core. She directly told Elena to break up with me. Elena, of course, didn't agree and even played a big move. She touched her stomach and said she was pregnant with my child and couldn't break up with me. I was stunned. This was too unreasonable. I was still a pure young man. When Mrs. Lily found out her daughter was pregnant, though extremely dissatisfied, she didn't dare say more. Throughout the meal, Sophia's expression was extremely ugly, as if I had cackled at her. She was with Ethan and I fully supported that. Now that I had found a girlfriend, I didn't expect her to bless me, but she shouldn't put on such a constipated face affecting my appetite. Old Master Jack, knowing he was about to become a grandfather, was overjoyed and told me to start working at the company the next day. I thought finding something to do was good. Otherwise, being idle would be boring. After dinner, Elena and I left. Outside, Sophia called me back. "Victor," I swallowed. Could she have changed her mind and wanted her assets back? I slowly turned to look at her. "What's the matter?" "I want to talk to you privately." Before I could say anything, Elena let go of my hand. "I'll wait in the car." After Elena left, Sophia asked, "Are you serious about Elena?" I nodded. "I'm always very serious." Sophia mocked. Your speed is really fast. I understood her meaning. She and Ethan were deeply in love, yet they still hadn't married. Meanwhile, I, who had divorced her not long ago, was about to have a child. I shrugged. Of course, in 2 more years my child will be able to buy diapers. And for the baby you should work hard too. The smile on Sophia. Her lips stiffened, and she gazed at me somewhat profoundly. Victor, you seem a bit different from before. I was slightly startled and kicked a small pebble beside me. What? I'm not clinging to you. So you're not used to it? Sophia narrowed her eyes. You better know your place. Don't dream of clinging to me. Don't worry, you've long been nothing in my heart. I looked at my watch. It's getting late. I'll go first. After saying this, I walked to the car. In the car, Elena asked me, "What did she say to you?" I fastened my seatbelt, leaned over and kissed her. Nothing. She's just jealous of our good relationship and mocked a few words. Don't mind her. When we got home, I suddenly looked at Elena and asked, "In a few more months, if this stomach doesn't show any signs, won't the lie be exposed? Mrs. Lily is easy to deal with, but your mother is tricky." Elena smiled and wrapped her arms around my neck. This is simple. Let's just make it real. Isn't that fine? After saying this, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. I quickly reacted and hugged her. Later, Elena and I held a grand wedding. The ceremony was very lively. Sophia looked at me with an unclear expression. I could guess her thoughts. She and Ethan still had to go through a series of hardships before achieving a happy ending. She was probably jealous that I remarried before her. Elena whispered in my ear, "I'm pregnant." I was so excited I picked her up. Finally, it was my turn to be a dad.